Have you heard the exciting news? Something big is coming your way to change how you think about menstrual health and hygiene and sexual reproductive health. That's right. Get ready for Oky. Oky is an initiative designed just for you, bringing empowering insights straight to PNG. Stay tuned to Tribe FM for the Oky Toky radio show, where you'll learn everything you need to know about menstrual health and sexual reproductive health. Spread the word and be the first to experience Oky. Don't miss out. Oky PNG, supported by the Australian and PNG government and UNICEF. The following program contains information on menstrual health and hygiene and sexual reproductive health that could be sensitive to some listeners. The views, opinions, and conclusions expressed on air do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this radio station and its affiliates. Get ready, everyone, because Oky is about to start. In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome along Oky Toky radio show, your trusted source of information on menstrual health and hygiene and sexual reproductive health. Name me Jason, and I am your host for today's segment. Big thank you long all partners na donors blo yumi long come up in this la Oky PNG initiative na this la show possible. Government of Papua New Guinea, Government of Australia na UNICEF.
Let me celebrate you. Let me empower you. By supporting you, the best version of you. I am here to be a friend. I am here to help you learn. I am here to help you be the best you can.
Now, the following program may contain discussions of sensitive topics, including topics on gender-based violence. Some listeners may find these topics distressing, and we understand if you feel so. We encourage discretion when listening, particularly for younger or more vulnerable audiences. If you or someone you know needs support,
Let me celebrate you.
So today's episode of our Oky segment focuses on the title For All Women and Girls, A Safe Papua New Guinea, on the theme Violence and Staying Safe, and we will focus on the topic Violence and Abuse in Papua New Guinea. So the key messages are for everyone to work to ending all forms of violence and abuse and helping and supporting where necessary where we find available services for assistance. Now this afternoon, our amazing guest, we have someone who is not new to the GBV space. So we have Miss Henna Joku, who is the gender-based violence or GBV advocate, and she'll be our guest for this episode of our Oky. Last week on the show, we talked about puberty, which can feel difficult to many of our young friends. Remember, these emotional changes are normal, and if you ever need help, you may talk to a trusted adult or friend. So let's jump right into our segment for this afternoon.
Let me celebrate you. Let me empower you. By supporting you, the best version of you. I am here to be a friend. I am here to help you learn. I am here to help you be the best you can.
Welcome back. So this 8th of March is International Women's Day. The theme for this year's Women's Day is for all women and girls' rights, equality, empowerment. Today we have a special guest on our show whose work has been all about empowerment and championing women's rights. The powerful Miss Henna Joku. She is a media specialist by profession and a gender-based violence or GBV advocate. Welcome, Henna. It's a pleasure to have you again on our Oky Toky radio show.
Good afternoon, Jason, and thank you. It's been a while since you and I caught up in the studio, so thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time. Now, before we move on with the program, listener discretion is advised as some topics on gender based violence might be disturbing to some of our listeners. So, if you or someone you know needs support, please reach out to local resources or hotlines for assistance like One to Counseling Helping Line on 7150 8000. Thank you. Now, Hannah, you are a well known face for your activism work, but for those who are hearing you for the first time, could you just tell us a bit about yourself? Where did you grow up? And while growing up, did you have any women role models who might have inspired you in your journey?
Thank you so much, Jason. So I'm very much a Port Moresby girl, born and bred here. Education spanned across 4 countries, so primary school in Port Moresby, then secondary across in Indonesia, and also uh, back to Port Moresby and down to Australia for senior high. I've worked in the media space since I was 15. Everything basically self-taught. A little known fact, I actually studied anthropology, not communications or journalism.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's an industry that I grew up in because both of my parents were also in media. My father was a journalist for 17 years, and my mother worked in the admin and management side of it. So I guess between the three of us, we have pretty much covered all newsrooms in Port Moresby. It's in my DNA. It's in my blood. It's something I love to. I love working in this industry. It was a privilege having worked along, colleagues here at NBC and TV1 and TV. So I think it's never a dull day because you never know what your 8 to 5 is going to look like, and so I'm very much excited to still be in the space, even if it's in a different capacity now.
I can imagine the level of passion you have in working in this space as well. So, could you also tell us briefly about the work you do now on gender based violence and violence against women?
Sure. So it's due to my personal experience as a GBV survivor that I felt very strongly that because I have access to a media platform, it was important to be able to share information to educate other people. As media, I also knew that, having reported on different cases of violence in the country, there's a lot of information that is supposed to be going out to the public, but for some reason, a lot of these conversations don't happen or the accessibility to information doesn't happen. So, as much as possible, I have used my platform and following an audience to just simplify what's out there and then disseminate it as much as possible to our people so that other women, not just women actually, all victims of violence, even just families and the support networks understand what they can do to quickly help. Either help themselves or help a loved one that's in that situation.
I couldn't stress that enough, and I couldn't agree more on that as well. What a nice way to put it. So that brings us to my next question. How would you like to see the theme of this year's International Women's Day for all women and girls' rights, equality, empowerment?
I think the big thing, like you and I have had this discussion before, and that's just putting ourselves outside of the comfort zone and having the conversation. That's basically it. But along with that is also how are we raising our children? I'm a mother of five, and the ages range in a 5-year-old to a 25-year-old. So that's different age bracket that you as a parent you're going to deal with. I have sons and I have daughters, so that conversation is so important to me. How am I going to raise my daughters to make sure they understand and know their rights, and how do I raise my sons to make sure they respect the rights of females around them and in the country? The issue of violence is always considered a taboo topic, so we just have to backtrack and start at home.
Yeah.
Have the conversations with your children, make sure that they understand the rights. I think it's basic human respect when we're teaching our children respecting other people, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in your home, whether you're with, family or friends in the schoolyard. That's I think a huge pointer for me in trying to share. So when I am speaking either at a school or in a community, using the language that they can relate to as well. Because as Melanesians, we love to storytell. What's the best way to advocate is through storytelling. But when you story tell, you want to use language that those around you will understand and relate to. And so I think that's where my case has had successes. I just simplify it down to the very basics so that everybody across the community can understand.
That's amazing. And I couldn't agree more on what you said about Melanesian society and basic family values like respect. You pointed it out poignantly. Should be the foundation of a children's upbringing, and should be the foundation that navigate them into the world, and not just for females but for men as well, in setting a good foundation for them to be a good citizen in the future. So you mentioned the need to challenging traditional beliefs about men being better than women. Hence, they have a right to dominate women, as it should be one of Papua New Guinea's perception. We see men as the head of the family. What specific steps can families, schools, and communities take to redefine what it means to be a strong man?
I think the one thing we need to steer away from sometimes when we want to advocate in an informal way is not look at violence as a gender issue. It's a human rights issue. So at the end of the day, it's us as human beings respecting each other as people and then respecting each other's rights. And so that conversation, again, like we've had multiple times. Accessibility to information too will come into that. When we have young women and girls in our homes, in our communities, that don't understand what their rights are, or not even understanding what violence looks like, they're more likely to not report something. Our Melanesian culture has raised us in a way where our children are being raised by a community or a family. And in my experience in media, a lot of the abuse that happens in family violence, gender-based violence, it's always by family members. And so you have to be okay with telling your children and especially your daughters, but even sons, the levels of sexual assault against young boys is increasing. If they feel uncomfortable, because you've had that conversation already, they can come and tell you, hey, mom, I don't feel comfortable around this relative or, this family member. And that, even when I was growing up, was not a normal conversation. Right up until through high school, that's not something we talk about. And yet, fast forward to now, when I do speak at high schools, you have young 16, 17-year-olds comfortable enough to stand there and say, oh yes, I understand what this behavior is and it's not right. And oh, I see that, language I use around my friends is not right, and I'm conscious now around my friends who are female. And that's changed. A lot has changed over the years. So we just have to continue. It's like going to the gym, I think. Muscle memory. If we keep doing something often enough, it becomes a part of who we are naturally, and at least then it doesn't become a taboo topic anymore. It just becomes part of everyday conversation.
And as it should be, normalizing conversations like this should also help in spreading the message, in normalizing this cultural perception about violence not being tolerated in our society. So these are some great suggestions that you've made. We know changing these age-old beliefs would take time. Prevention is always better. We must go to the roots of gender-based violence. Now, what steps can young girls in Papua New Guinea take if they find themselves in uncomfortable or dangerous situations where they are at risk of sexual assault?
Rule number 1, trust your gut or intuition. If you feel uncomfortable about something or someone, act on it. And the second thing, violence will thrive in the silence, so you have to tell somebody. If it's not a family member, do you have a neighbor? Do you have a teacher? Do you have a friend of yours? Tell somebody, because where you are afraid to maybe reach out for help, that trusted person can do that for you. And once you've broken that silence, the accessibility to whatever help systems are in place, will come. But always trust yourself, always be conscious of you and your whereabouts. Get out of a situation where maybe you are at risk or in danger. If you can quickly help yourself, that's great. If you can quickly communicate and get somebody to come and help you, even better. But don't stay silent, because if you do, like, the abuse will continue, or you don't know if the situation can escalate or not. So it's so important to understand, if you feel uncomfortable, trust it, reach out and get help from somebody that you trust. The thing we also do as Papua New Guineans is sometimes we are scared or we are shy to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, you and I both know that we've dealt with a lot of people around us, and so that's something that we have to break. You're not weak, or you're not wrong for going and asking for help to somebody. And where you do not have a trusted person in your space, if you can reach out and communicate with someone online, maybe that you follow, if you have a role model out there, trust me, people do care. They will step in and help, but you have to take that first step and ask for it. That's really important, not to stay silent.
So on that note, may I just add on to ask if there's any support systems available for New Guinea for survivors of sexual abuse and violence, and how possible they can access or reach to getting assistance.
So we have a lot of what's called civil society organizations, NGOs, churches, community health workers. It was 2010 and a situation had come up. Our country of, what, 8 million at the time or something, had just 3 welfare protection officers. Now so these officers are gazetted by law to step in and assist where children are in danger. But the referral pathways and these organizations that I've mentioned, you can go to any of them to get help. We have a family support center inside, Port Moresby General Hospital. You go down to your church and be able to get help, and they can quickly take you. If you have accessibility to transport and you can go yourself, go straight to a police station. Most of them, I think, across Port Moresby, if not all, have a FSVU unit, so you can go straight there and get assistance. And even for the safe houses, if you feel you need to get to a safe house quickly, you get to the safe house first. They also work with their partners in the space, and they will bring you the medical attention. They will help with getting the professionals in for legal advice. If you need medical attention, they can assist you with it. But at least it's done in an environment where you're already in a safe place, and then they can help with that.
And on that note as well, there's always the One Talk counseling
Yes.
line free toll. And I guess, and I believe many of us these days have mobile phones. We can also reach out to them on their numbers. That is free operational 24/7, 7150 8000. Now, on that note, what advice or words of advice would you like to leave to someone who suspects that a friend or family member is in a violent household, or being abused, whether it be verbally, physically, mentally, sexually, and so forth, but is still afraid to speak out?
One of the biggest issues that we as a country face is a lot of us are bystanders. So we will see an incident happen, but we won't report it, or we won't step in. It's not to say, hey, you should rush in and put yourself in danger. No, but don't be a bystander. If you know you cannot physically step in and assist somebody, quickly go for help and get that escalated. Report it. A lot of people don't fully understand that you, as a witness, have every right to go and report it. Then you can give a witness statement. You can support that family member or that person. The victim themselves doesn't have to go and report it. If you are witnessing any violence happening in front of you in your home, in a public space, you can go and report quickly without needing to wait for somebody to come and assist.
Yeah, I guess I couldn't agree more on that. You've stated that enough. So we'll go for a quick break, and once we return, we will carry on with our conversation for this afternoon. The topic: violence and abuse in Papua New Guinea. And of course, we have our amazing guest, Miss Henna Joku.
Okay, let me celebrate you. Okay, let me empower you. Okay, by supporting you, be the best version of you. I am here to be your friend. I am here to help you learn. I am here to help you be the best you can.
Welcome back. Have our amazing guest, Miss Henna Joku, who is an active GBV advocate or gender-based advocate and a media communication specialist, and she is navigating the conversation surrounding the topic on violence and abuse in Papua New Guinea. Everyone must work to end all forms of violence and abuse. Help and support are available if needed. So we have Hannah, and we'll ask Hannah to read what message that she has for men and boys listening to this show.
Thank you very much. I think one thing I wanted to mention and I forgot to earlier was we're all victims of violence. It is never your fault. That responsibility belongs to the perpetrator. Never feel ashamed, never feel embarrassed. That's something that's so taboo for us as Melanesians and Papua New Guineans that we have to do. It's not just for girls. You know, it's equally important for boys to understand that as well. And you know, your specific question now, what message do I want to share with our men and our boys is if we are holding back half of our population because they don't feel safe or they're being victimized, where do you think we're going to go in the next 50 years? We're not going to get very far. We're limiting, you know, our women and girls. The thing that I love to say is, you know, the reminder is our women have given birth to this entire nation, the entire nation, to every leader, to every, you know, role model, to every icon that you have out there. They were birthed by a woman. And we cannot have a population that's going to grow. We need each other. Both genders are equally important. Small things matter as well. Conversation, we were talking about it off air. You know, how you communicate, words, language. Maybe you will think you're saying something funny and she might feel that it's, you know, targeted at her and not be comfortable with it. Anytime you have any conversation with anyone around you, whether family, whether friends, make sure that it's not something that's rude or making somebody else feel uncomfortable. And if it has, be comfortable to go and say, I'm sorry, or I didn't mean it. That's another thing is we are so quick to be judgmental or nasty. We can be equally quick to go and say something nice. Doesn't make you a weaker person.
True.
It just makes you a real person. Everybody makes mistakes. Violence isn't a mistake, it's a choice. And so when you're doing that kind of a thing as well, you have to understand that your actions is something that you are wholly responsible for. And one thing I always come into NBC and say and share, educate yourself. Read the Constitution, share it, download it, get your friends to read it. And then when you have a better understanding of what your rights are and what the law says, you'll know how to protect yourself. You'll know that, oh, this person that's doing this kind of thing to me is not right. I don't have to sit and, you know, accept it, or I don't have to be a part of it, or I can report it. And so for young people, I was reading encyclopedias growing up. You have the internet. Everything is at your fingertips. So your smartphone is right there. Use it. Use it the right way. I think that's really important because now in this day and age with technology, you can get very overwhelmed with a lot of content out there. So, you know, one thing also for parents and guardians of minors is monitor and manage what your children have access to because that technology and content is not all child-proof or child-friendly. Put restrictions. Talk to them about safe internet use. But where you can have access to resources, use it, download it, share it, and educate, and talk to your friends and family about it. That's so, so important.
And I like the part where you mentioned education. Education should be, it's never seasonal. You have to educate yourself. Learning is never seasonal. Learn as much as you could regarding your rights every single day to helping you prevent this spread or escalation of violence. And of course, we are slowly taking things through to wrapping things up for our conversation. Now, lastly, what would be your advice, words of advice for women and girls listening to you? Some of them may be or might be survivors, and some may know GBV survivors in their community. So, what would be your words of advice to them?
I think the most important thing I want to share, and that's something I have done for the past 2 years being a guest on both your stations, is value. What is your value as a person, as a human being? Every single person in Papua New Guinea has a special purpose, and each of us are on a different path. but you add value to every room you walk into, to every conversation you're going to have. Never feel like your voice is not important. But if that voice is being repressed, or you're in danger of being hurt, you have to quickly speak up and save yourself. Don't wait for someone to come and save you. You actually have the power within yourself to change your situation then and there. And like this show itself is already a tool. This station itself is already a platform. And so everything that we need is around us, and we just keep ourselves educated, keep ourselves aware. I don't know what do young people say, woke, stay woke.
Yeah, stay
Something
woke.
like that. Yeah. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to use that voice, because you never know who you're gonna inspire when you help yourself, and in that process somebody else will see you and think, oh, okay, I can do this or I can do that. And it doesn't have to specifically relate to just getting out of a violent situation. Once you survive, okay, what's next? You're going to thrive. There are lots of things you can do. And for victims and people listening, you are never what happened to you, but you are what you decide to do with the situation. And I'm so appreciative to have the opportunity to share with you this afternoon. I'm really grateful for the work that UNICEF does, and all the other partners that we have in the CSO and NGO space. So this collaboration, when it happens like this, it's going to have a massive impact on the country. So thank you again for having me here.
Time. Couldn't agree more on what you said. That's a powerful message to conclude. So thank you, Miss Henna, for this very insightful and useful conversation. We have come to the end of this segment. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back for you with more of our Oky Toky right here on Tribe
Okay, let me celebrate you. Okay, let me empower you. Okay, by supporting you, be the best version of you. I am here to be a friend. I am here to help you learn. I am here to help you be the best you can.
FM. Long aside menstrual health and hygiene at GBV. One time, of course, our guest, Henna Joku, who navigated this insightful conversation on GBV as one of her active advocacy spaces. So, guess what? Oky is now in Papua New Guinea. So, for those who might not know, Oky is a globally recognized period tracking mobile app used in 11 other countries, including the Philippines, Indonesia, Ukraine, West Bengal in India, Tanzania, Kenya, and South Africa, among others. You can also download the Oky PNG app in Google Play Store for Android phone users and App Store if you are using iPhones. Once you download the app, you can use it offline. Yes, you don't need to use your data. Download the app and share the information on the encyclopedia section with your friends, and keep tuning in to our station for the latest updates about Oky IVR service, Oky hotline, and many others. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on our referral pathways right here on Tribe FM.
And time blow you on many hiding good. Look out in you, yeah. Long time of sick mood. Now I'm time blow you. How mama's messed up good. Look out in you, yeah. Long time of sick.
Welcome back to Oky Toky referral pathways. So grab yourself a pen and a piece of paper. Here on Oky Toky, we also provide some referral pathways for you. If you or your family members have witnessed or are experiencing family and sexual violence, you are encouraged to call the One Talk Counseling Helpline line 7150-8000. Again, the One Talk Counseling Helpline line on 7150-8000. This helpline is hosted by one of our many partners, Child Fund, and the number again is 7150-8000. It's free and operational 24 hours, so in case you didn't jot it down yet, that's One Talk Counseling Helpline line on 7150-8000. Stay tuned on Oky Toky Radio Show.
Let me celebrate you. Let me empower you by supporting you. Be the best version of you. I am here to be a friend. I am here to help you learn. I am here to help you be the best you can.
Today we had the privilege of speaking with a passionate and inspiring advocate for women and girls, Miss Henna Joku. She shared powerful insights on tackling the root cause of gender based violence, gender inequality, how men and boys can be part of the solution, and practical steps to take if facing any form of GBV. And a huge thank you to Miss Henna Joku for her time and to our partners and donors, the government of Papua New Guinea, the Australian government, and UNICEF for making the Oky PNG initiative possible. Next week, we continue our Women's Day special with another incredible guest. Until then, stay strong, stand together, and keep pushing for change. And don't forget to download the Oky PNG app from Google Play Store and Apple Store as well. Until then, that's been our Oky Toky radio show for today.
Was Oky Toky. Tune in same time next week for more Oky Toky.